welcome back to the Sunnyslope Alumni Podcast. My name is Gilbert Gallagher, and I have one of my longtime friends with us today. He'll tell us all about himself. But before I do that, I want to thank all those people who have filled out the questionnaire. We have the current head coach of Sunnyslope High School's basketball team. Make sure you tune in for that one. But like I said, one of my longtime friends right here. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey guys, I'm Nate, and I went to Sunnyslope in 2002, and you're listening to the Sunnyslope Podcast.
Nate, thanks for being on the podcast today. What people don't know is me and Nate, we go back to Sunnyslope Elementary.
Way back.
Fifth grade? Fifth grade, Miss Crisdell.
Oh, man.
So, Nate, what part of Sunnyslope did you live in?
So, at that point in elementary, I was on 3rd Street in Carroll. Then, right after elementary, I moved to right across the street from Sunnyslope High School on 2nd Drive in Dunlap. So I could hear the Sunnyslope bell from my house.
How long did you guys stay in that house after high school?
I would say I was probably in that house only for about a year after. My mom sold the house, and then we moved to like 43rd and Union Hills. And at the time, I went to GCC for about a semester and really got into retail and, just try to make that money.
Yes, sir. Going back to Sunnyslope, what were some of your favorite Sunnyslope traditions?
Oh, man. So I remember, I think it was Fridays, we got to wear our school colors. So I'm actually wearing my Sunnyslope shirt right now. That was always exciting, just loving Fridays. And then homecoming was always the pinnacle to me, like going to the homecoming game. That was amazing. I remember I was on the freshman football team for a couple months, and I got to be a part of the painting the S Mountain, and that was awesome. And then, just the prep rallies, game days, dressing up. So those were always fun. I miss those days.
So looking back at that time, could you describe what Sunnyslope was like back then for you?
Oh my God. So I always tell people I had the time of my life in high school. It was a great time, just hanging out with friends and, going to class. I remember at lunchtime sitting at the tables, listening to the music, watching the kids dance, throwing ice cubes at people. It was fun. I had a great high school experience, really.
So a lot of what makes our high school experience amazing is the friendships that we made. Was there a particular group you hung out with? You want to name drop some of your friends?
Oh my God, there's so many. So Levi Childs, and his peeps. He had Tristan Wagner was at our table. Sometimes you had Chris Ayers. I hung out with Sean, and he had his little clique. So I was hanging out with Dalton and George. Man, there's just so many people. Like I didn't really have a clique. I was kind of like a chameleon almost. Like I didn't hang out with all the jocks. I didn't hang out with exclusively the skaters or like I hung out with a very diverse group. Like I had the nerd side that I liked, Spider-Man. I liked comics. I liked video games. And then I had my athletic side when, I hang out with, the more athletic people. That's how you and I got really acquainted and became really good friends, is just through basketball, football, all that. So I didn't really have like a particular group. I kind of bounced between quite a few.
So how would you describe that teenager back in the day?
So I was a perfectionist. I got really hard on myself. So like I worked hard. I try to get straight A's. I try to make the basketball teams, the football teams, even in PE. Some of the best battles I had was going up against, Mike Nixon and you, and oh my gosh, like it was awesome. But yeah, like I was really competitive. My sister went to Sunnyslope. She graduated in the top 10%. So I always told her I was going to try and beat that. I got close, but I didn't get top 10.
Now, a lot of people, the listeners, this is from them. They want to hear some of those struggles that we've went through. Do you want to share with us any of the struggles that you had back in high school?
Oh man. Yeah. So high school, I had a really great time. There was some stuff on the back end that, I hit a lot. So being a perfectionist and being really hard on myself, like I remember taking an advanced math. I think it was my sophomore year. It was the first time I ever got a D. And I remember my mom got pissed, and I had to go before school, get tutoring, and I did everything I could to bring that grade back up. But like, I think like I was really hard on myself. I always wanted people to like me. I always try to fit in. And I think sometimes it was a little bit too much. And sometimes I like had an identity crisis almost, where it's like I didn't want people to just look at me as a basketball player or a dumb jock or something. So like I had this big image issue that I didn't want to be labeled a certain thing. So I tried everything possible to try not be labeled anything, if that makes sense. So that was probably my biggest struggle there.
Yeah, that definitely does make sense, because that happens to a lot of people, right? It's like if you get boxed in, then that's all people think you are. Yeah. And you were definitely not just that, right? Now, going through that, was there anybody that helped you out of that? Or was there a teacher that influenced you in any way?
Great question. Obviously, I had really big influences at Sunnyslope. Mrs. Koch was one of my favorite teachers. Mr. Mannix, but they weren't really like someone I could go to and talk. I think probably even Mrs. D'Agostino. Like I remember one night, like I was having a really rough night, and she was like, she talked me, pretty much like calmed me down. I got into this huge fight with my mom's, and I was at a football game, and she could just tell I was like, really emotional and stuff. So like she really helped me. So like, but I would say like biggest picture, I would really looked up to my friend Sean. He was someone that at the time he became a huge Christian, but he also got picked on a lot. And, seeing the way he handled struggles and persevered, like really got me through a lot too, and more than I think he would ever know. So I would say that's why him and I became really close after high school.
Now, you mentioned Sean. Are there any fond memories that you have at Slope with Sean or any of the other friends that you had?
Oh, so many, man. Yeah, like I said, Levi and I were really close in high school. He was in Sean, like I said, we would always get together after high school and just hang out, play video games, play sports. So the thing I probably remember the most is just, right when that bell rings, going across the street to my house. My mom made like this sweet tea that everybody got addicted to, and everybody would come to my house and ask for some tea. So that was fun. And like I said, just hanging out, and enjoying the good times, really. You don't realize when you're in the moment that like harder stuff is down the road, and so I wish that I could really remember those times better and like really soak that in. But back then, there wasn't like cell phones or anything to record our stupid stuff. So I think we actually really did live in the moment a lot. And like I just remember doing so many stupid things with my friends.
Everybody wants to hear what kind of stupid things you did.
All right, so the first time I ever got in trouble at school, we had a golfing unit, and I don't think the unit lasted very long because I can't remember who the custodian was, but a custodian got hit with a golf ball. Do you remember who that was?
Was that Pete?
Maybe. He like collapsed. He shattered his wrist. Well, anyways, that same time, I was with Levi. I want to do name drops. Who else was I with? But I remember Levi specifically, and it was two other guys, and we were in the corner by the shed on the football field. Remember that little shed area? Anyways, we find lighter fluid, and one of the like stoners give us like their lighter, and we start lighting golf balls on fire. And I remember Levi would set it down, light it on fire, and he'd hit it and go, "En fuego." And I was last to go, and they lit my golf ball on fire. And next thing you know, like they're running, and it's just me. And I run up to the ball real quick. I hit it, and there's a little fire on the field, and I'm putting it out with my club. And next thing you know, it's like one of the other custodians, the little, the short one, he's yelling at me. And he gets in his golf cart and he drives around, and he's like threatening me. He's like, "I want to know all the guys in your group. Otherwise, you're going to be expelled." And I was just like sweating bullets. I was like, "Oh my, I've never been in trouble at school ever." And now that he's talking about being expelled. So, I feel bad, but I was just like, I'm not, taking one for the team. I'm like, it was him, and Levi.
Oh my gosh, that is so funny.
I probably almost run the field down, so I'm sorry about that.
So going back to your mom's sweet tea, I could testify because I remember there was a lot of days in the summertime. Remember back in like 5th and 6th grade, where me, you, and William would go back to your house, and that's what we had.
I remember. Man. It was even by Billy though, right? Billy.
Well, there was Billy too. So there was Billy and William.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh my gosh. She'd make this tea, man. And like I said, I'd get headaches if I don't drink this tea often because you get addicted.
Now, looking back at Slope, what is one word that you would use to describe your time at Slope?
Oh man. Really, it was a fun time. I guess joyful. I don't know. It was a melting pot of people that came from all different backgrounds, all different experiences. And we had some of the most funniest people there, some of the most funniest characters. Like, even if you weren't really good friends with somebody, they were making you laugh or doing something crazy. And I had a really great experience at Sunnyslope. I really did.
Now, you're not going to get off that easy. What word did you say again?
Wait, joyful?
Joyful? Okay. That just reminded me of back in elementary when you would have the bells on your shoes.
Oh my God. Was there a Christmas time or something?
Yeah.
Oh my, I was a nerd. Oh, you're going back elementary. So I had this thing like where I didn't want to wear jeans. And I remember I wore like sweatpants during all of winter. I had the worst wardrobe style ever. Oh my gosh. And then I had my big old hair comb over. I looked like Jim Carrey. And then I remember when I got to junior high, I'm like, I'm done doing my hair every day. I'm sick of it. So I just shaved it all off. And I feel like when I shaved my head, like I all of a sudden I was like more confident in myself, if that makes any sense. And like I don't know, I found like I said, I was always trying to see where I fit in, and I felt like once I shaved my head, I was like, okay, that's where I fit in for some reason.
Well, Nate, thanks so much for sharing your stories from Sunnyslope. I want to get into who you are now. How would you describe yourself today?
So today, I'm almost like kind of the same person, but I'm even more anal now. Like my wife says, as the more older I get, the more anal I'm getting. Like even doing dishes, it's like it has to be done a certain way. So I'm really rigid in my old age. I work from home. I work at EXP Realty. I've been working at home now for almost 3 years. So once COVID hit, I was at a like the small out of network medical billing company. Like I drove all the way to Scottsdale, and once COVID hit, we had to work from home. And then after a couple months, all of a sudden my work is like, you got to come back into the office. And I was like, no, I don't want to come back to the office. I enjoy this too much. So I found a job where I can work from home. I have 2 kids. I have a daughter and a son. My daughter's 10 years old. She's going to be 11 next month. And then I have a 9-year-old son. They're both active in sports. My daughter plays volleyball and basketball, and my son plays football and basketball. So we alternate every season. I try and coach as much as I can, be there for them. With my schedule now the way it is, I could be there for them when they get off of school. It's awesome. I love it. I'm off on the weekends. So, we usually have our games or tournaments or whatever that is going on the weekend. So I'm still constantly busy with sports, keeping them busy in sports, because I knew that's what kept my head on basically and kept me on the straight and narrow path. Oh, and
Now,
also I did meet my wife when I was shortly graduated or right around the graduation time. And I've been with her ever since too. So it's been amazing being with someone that long and building a life together. So that's me in a nutshell right there.
now I'm gonna speak because I know you've from elementary. You growing up with a single mom.
Yes.
How has fatherhood affected you today with the way that you were raised and the way that you're raising your kids?
Well, my mom, she was tough. She always expected you to give it your all in everything you did. She, like I said, she raised 3 kids on her own, basically. And my 2 older sisters, they were a lot older than me. So they were 7 and 10 years older than I was. So there was a time when they moved out, and it was just my mom's and I, basically all through high school. And, she worked her butt off. She never called out of work. She ran her own business, and she was still there every game that I had. Took me, to practices, whatever it is. She was always making sure that there was food on the table, so I take her work ethic and I try and show my kids that, you always show up, always give it your best. And not having a father in my life the whole time, I know that being there ultimately is what they need the most. So that's why it was important for me to get out of retail, because I was in retail for like 16 years. And I remember there was a Thanksgiving that I had to leave my whole family and go and work. And that was like really tough. So once they started getting older, I knew I had to get out of the retail business and just being there for them, really.
So, you're experiencing this, as a father, right? What advice do you have to new fathers out there?
Oh man. So fatherhood, like I said, the biggest important thing is being there for your kids, knowing that you always choose them first. I think that's the biggest point. And then just always there's your tough days. There's days where you're like, dang, I was a terrible dad today. I lashed out, or I was really moody. But the kids are going to love you. They're going to look up to you. Like your dad, you're the fun hero to them, so just being in their life is the most important thing.
So I didn't want to leave your wife out of this, because I know you mentioned her. What do you think has been the biggest struggle being a married man?
A married man? I don't know, man. My wife and I, we click. We're a really good team, but obviously, there's going to be days where it's going to be hard. And I think just, communication is really the biggest key in a relationship. And I think the more I opened up, the more I communicated is when my wife and I got really closer. So, when you're young, you tend to like hide a lot of stuff, and you're not very open and stuff like that. And the more I opened up, the more we connected, if that makes sense. So yeah, like you're going to have the bad days, and you just got to work through them. You got to communicate, and ultimately just know that you're on each other's side. We always call a home our safe space. So whenever we're home, like I'm allowed to vent. I'm allowed to get whatever's on my mind off my chest, and let's talk about it. I hate going to bed angry. Let's try and work this out. And nobody's perfect. And, just trying to work those little things out throughout the day, like when she's having a tough day, like being there, being supportive, and then vice versa,
So Nate, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast today. Looking back at the you in high school, what is the advice that you would give Nate back in 98 through 2002? What advice would you give that guy?
You know what? Looking back, I'd probably tell him, like, dude, like lighten up a little bit. All right. Try some new things. Go to a dance, go to a party. I don't know. Like I don't think I went to one dance. I didn't go to one party. Like I kind of just had my little group that after school, I was just like, okay, like I'm gonna go and have fun and hang out with these side of guys. But I'd probably go, like, hey, there's like a whole nother life out there. Have some fun, and don't, try not to take things so seriously.
Now, we always end the podcast with just giving this time to you, because this podcast is all about you. This episode is all about you. If there's any last words of wisdom you want to put on our people, this time is yours.
Oh man. So where do I go from here? Right. So I don't know, like, I know that everybody kind of had their own experiences in high school. It was kind of, like I said, weird for me. I didn't know where I fit in. So I like to kind of come on these podcasts or listen to the podcast to kind of hear everybody else's experiences and watch them self-reflect and stuff like that. Because it's interesting to see how much we have grown since then, like, man, back then we were young and we were stupid, right? So with experiences and with the troubles and tribulations that we go through, you know, we learn from them and we get better, and ultimately, you know, just become a better society, almost like a better group of people. But yeah, like, I know that we all go through our struggles, and I don't know. I feel like I'm rambling on here. We might have to edit some of this out.
Well, once again, Nate, thank you for coming on the Sunnyslope Alumni Podcast. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. I guess the last words of the day is Slope wins every day. Just continue to be yourself and party on.